you have to reposition your offers. A lot of us are still thinking in very narrow ways. It's got to fit into the course bucket, or it's got to fit into the subscription bucket.
Yeah, we're entering into an era where it's now more important than ever, because within a very short period of time are not going to be the most intelligent beings on this planet. Not only is the value proposition shifted, but you have to tap into a different state of being.
You cannot play scared in this season.
No.
If you're playing scared, you have to get your mind right.
iPhone.
People want raw and real. Mainstream media has been lying to us for so many years.
We know there's an elephant in the room that's replacing people in jobs by the minute. So let's not pretend like that's not happening.
The name of the game is speed. What's up, familia? It's Kim.
And Chris.
And you're listening to the Business Lounge podcast.
In each episode, we'll break down all the latest in online marketing, give you all the details on what's working now to turn your content into customers, boost your leads and sales, and scale your business fast.
All without compromising on what you care about most: faith, family, and freedom. And listen, it's all real, raw, and unfiltered. So let's start the show. What's up, guys? Welcome back to the show. I'm here with Chris, who is my amazing co-host.
Hi.
And I'm super pumped. I mean, we are bringing a whole new season to the Business Lounge podcast, and it's going to be fun. We're going to talk. Listen, we've been talking to you guys for a while. We get a lot of feedback from y'all via text message, via chat, etc. And I asked you guys last year if you would like it if I brought on a new segment, kind of like a new direction to the show, where we talk about what's working right now to grow an online business, how all these crazy economic trends, political trends, cultural shifts are impacting the online space. And you said a resounding absolutely yes. I even asked if you would like me to do it with Chris, and everyone was like, please have Chris on, which was awesome.
Thank you.
So we're excited. We're launching this show now on YouTube as well. We've been doing the podcast since like 2017, I think.
Subscribe to the new podcast channel.
Please do. We need all the subscribers.
We need subscribers. Which was kind of like a bummer, because we were just we were just going to upload it to Kim's YouTube.
We were.
And then consolidate the power,
and
it was like we work with a YouTube strategist, and he was like, no, you need to start new channels for all these things. And it's like,
no.
Oh man, we gotta. It's like you climb Everest, and like you're like, oh, we're almost at 100,000 subscribers on Kim's channel, and then it's like, no, back to base camp.
Back to base camp.
Sweet.
It's like great. No, but we're excited. I think that's part of what's working right now, Chris. If we're talking about trends and things that are shifting, video has always been something we've encouraged our clients to do forever and ever. We've been doing coaching for 10 plus years, if you guys have been following along. But for those of you who are new, video has always been our thing. We've done video for a really long time. And we wanted to just capitalize on this new trend. Like, I feel like everyone is really crushing right now with video, and especially video podcasts. I think they're absolutely the future. I've been saying, like, in some of our newsletters that we sent out, if you're not part of the email list, there's going to be a link below the description. You're not going to want to miss it. They're really good. But essentially, I've been telling you guys, if you're subscribed to the newsletter, that, dude, the election was won through podcast content.
Was.
Like, that's a big deal. And because we talk about YouTube, because we talk so much about content creation, there's some serious shifts. I follow political campaigns really closely. People are like, oh gosh, bless your heart. But listen, they're the highest funded marketing campaigns in the world.
We'd be foolish not to.
Absolutely. So I'm always looking and paying attention to, like, okay, what is this campaign doing right? What is that campaign doing right?
Yeah.
And there's so much that I feel like we can learn from online businesses. And so, like, I'm going to treat you guys like adults. I don't want to hear in the comments, oh, you're talking about politics. Well, listen, it's 2025. So, like, this is the conversation, and we're going to talk about it. We're not going to be like a lot of people in the online space.
It's true.
Who are just like, no, can't say anything.
They wouldn't even say the word
correct.
politics. The P word.
Get out of here. The P word.
The P word. Oh. I don't know if that actually happened, by the way.
Get out of here.
I just made that up. But it's but if you know the energy in the online space,
that's the energy.
You know it's probably real.
So we're going to be real. I don't have time. You don't have time to kind of like beat around the bush and sort of wink at it. I'm like, no, I'm just going to tell you like it is.
It's too, there was a notable person that was basically kind of dismissing the importance of following politics as it relates to growing your business, like it was some kind of distraction.
For sure.
But if you lived the last 4 years, you know that politics had a pretty significant impact on your life and on your business.
Yeah.
And I think also too, it did impact a cultural shift.
100%.
I think it's foolish to deny that. And so, if you can put your head in the sand. And I do think there's a degree of overconsumption. I do think there's a degree of getting a little bit obsessive with it. But to not at least be educated about what's happening or aware, I think you quickly fall out of touch.
Yep.
I don't think, and especially in a marketing capacity, you need to be able to speak to where people are at all the time. Mm-hmm. And so I think if you disengage from that to such a degree and keep your distance from that to the point that you have no idea what's going on, even the industry leaders have fallen out of touch.
100%.
And I think they may not admit that because they probably don't even realize. That's the problem with falling out of touch. You don't realize it until you're like, wait, what happened?
Yeah. And Chris, we've been having these conversations behind the scenes with our community for 4 years. And they've all been like, oh my, because we had an internal podcast.
Yeah.
We just transitioned it to being like, hey guys,
let's just release this to everybody. Yeah.
Yeah.
Why are we making this exclusive too? Yeah.
Well, we were getting all these people who are like, hey, this podcast was so mind blowing and so real. I feel like if you guys post it publicly, it would benefit so many people.
Because we went
Plus,
there.
they're like, I'm trying to actually share it with my friends and I can't because it's behind a paywall.
Yeah.
So we're like, you know what? It's so true. Let's just be who we are behind the scenes.
We got a fancy new sign.
We got a studio and a new
behind
sign.
door number 1.
Shout out to LC Sign.
Shout out to LC Tony.
Tony.
Yeah, no, it was awesome. We mounted it on this black. If you're listening, you're not gonna know what the heck we're talking about.
He said we. He means he.
We. It was a we effort here.
It was you did it.
But so this piece of it's just plywood,
Yeah.
and then we painted it black and then mounted it to it. It turned out really cool, but it might be flickering. We got to work on the camera. Sorry if it's like a little flickery. Now you're gonna notice. Sorry, I shouldn't have told you. Stop noticing. But yeah, so we just the brand overhaul. I'm pointing to my hat if you're listening, not watching.
Yeah.
Like we just really felt like it was time to, as Kim says, and we're going to talk about throughout this episode probably. Many of you maybe we hear often like you guys are hidden gems, and I'm just repeating what people say. I'm not like saying that that's true or not true, but we spent a lot of time building the business side of things the last 8 to 10 years. Like let's make money. You guys know Kim and what we're all about, right? We're about profitability over popularity and not just being popular on the internet. And that involves making money. And so it has come to a point though where it's like we've really done that well. And it's time we start building the brand. Yeah. And so we figured out a way to kind of like make them all play together. Obviously, with me being involved, we're going to talk about that. Why the heck am I here all the time now? Like, why is Chris all of a sudden going to be a part of this?
No, yeah. I think a lot of people have questions. And listen, if you're new and you don't care about the behind the scenes,
just zoom through, timestamp it.
We have timestamps. Please just go to
why am I
the
still
trends
listening to
and
this?
the things that are new, that are happening. But this is for like our existing folks, people who are already in our world. And so lots of things have changed in our company. We need to do a whole episode about that. Yeah. But essentially, Chris was running solo for many years. I was running solo for many years as well. And we always collaborated on the background.
We were basically partners. You know what I mean? That's the part people didn't see is like we were always like unofficial partners regardless.
So you, since the start of the Business Lounge, which was our membership, now it's called TBL Academy. And we have our whole entire brand is called the Business Lounge.
Yeah, it just became a company.
But in the early days of like baby TBL, Chris was always doing coaching calls with me because they were very overwhelming.
I don't think I've ever missed one.
Literally.
Even when I was traveling, I did it remote with Kim.
100%.
Yeah. So it's kind of like I've always been there. So
you've been there for like hundreds of coaching calls.
Yeah, just not publicly all the time.
And then in your membership, I've been a part of that. And when you had the book club and we started sharing a lot of our clients, a lot of the people who were in the TBL membership were also in Chris's book club, and then you were doing coaching, and we're like, what are we doing just separate?
Yeah, we're gonna have a whole episode about couplepreneurship and how to work with your spouse, or even if you're an entrepreneur and your spouse is not, like how to support the other person. And obviously that's not our capacity, but we have a lot of clients that we engage with where the partner's not involved. An entrepreneur, and so there's some things that we've picked up along the way, like how to support that person through going through that. Like it's it's a lot. So we'll probably talk about that too. There's so many topics we can cover. I think that's the exciting part about making this public facing now.
For sure. And so essentially, long story short, we really felt like God was leading us to partner, and then my brother came in, and so he was running his own company as well. So we've basically partnered, and Chris and I, we're now the business lounge together. So we had a lot of people were like, are you Kim and Co? Are you Kim and Chris?
Yeah.
What is happening here?
It was really confusing to everybody.
I was like, no.
Including us sometimes.
We're the business lounge together. Chris has his own website. I have my own website. He has his own channel. I have my own channel.
Yeah.
And then we're collaborating here.
Yeah. So if you know like John and Lisa Bevere, or you know Chip and Joanna Gaines, like think both their personal brands, but they all serve the greater good of the business that they support, right? Yeah. So like Magnolia or Messenger International, like, so that's kind of the dynamic that we're borrowing from them. Shout out to their mentorship in that regard of like, cool, how do these two play together but serve the same thing? And that's what we're doing.
Mentorship from afar.
Mentorship from afar. Hopefully,
all right.
Hopefully not from afar always. That'd be cool to know them.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. All right. So end of our banter. Are you getting ready to talk about all the shifts? Yes.
All right. So we've got a whole list, guys. We actually covered this. I'm curious to see, because this was a few months ago now. I pulled this from, we hosted a workshop inside of TBL Academy, which is our self-study program. Shameless plug. And so we're going to go over some of these. Not all of these. This was like a 2-hour thing. So we're going to go over some of these.
The online space, everything has changed. Everything has changed. And if you're still operating with a 2019 mentality, you're going to get left behind. It's just not going to work.
True.
So we're seeing right now 50%, I would say, of our clients are having probably record months right now. They're crushing it, right? Like they're making more than they did pre-pandemic. And then we have another 50% of clients who we've been telling for the past 2 years, you need to pivot, you need to pivot, you need to pivot.
Yep.
Now they're really feeling the pain of not staying ahead of the game of these trends. And so we want, as a cautionary tale, to like be like, hey, let's talk about all the things. Let's be transparent about what's actually happening in the online space. Let's have the conversation that no one's willing to have. And talk about all the shifts, but also talk about the opportunity, because I don't know about you, Chris, but I'm more excited about online business than I have been in a very long time.
I think that goes without saying. I think we've been more excited about what we're doing than any other time.
My gosh.
And a lot of it has to do with what we call the old way versus the new way.
Exactly.
And
alignment.
The old way of running a business like this, of marketing a business like this, it was so tedious. It was so arduous. It was so dynamic. There's so many moving parts and pieces.
Yeah.
You couldn't tell people you sold something too fast because they're like, ew, gross. And it's like, well, we used to have to tell people all the time, would you walk into a Walmart and be offended that they tried to sell you something? And you'd be like, no, of course. Like, you're there with that intention.
Right.
And yet, for whatever stupid reason, when you get online, it's like, how dare he sell something? And I don't understand why that was coming from the offline space, because my first business was offline, just a traditional moving and installation business. Like, if you're not selling, you're dead, you know? But man, you get into the online space and it was so weird. It was like you went to somebody's personal brand website. You didn't know what the heck they did.
There was nothing to buy.
Nothing to buy. There was no shop page. You had to like start here, and it was like
a resource list.
And then maybe
y'all remember the start here pages?
Maybe 6 years later, you get introduced that they actually sell something.
Right.
And it's $12, and then 3 years later introduced to another thing you buy that's $99, and it's like, man, you're going to monetize these people after a decade. So for me, again, coming into this world, I'm like, this is crazy. Like, this isn't business. What is this? So for me, I prefer this. It's straightforward. It's cut and dry. It's, do you have what I'm looking for? I want to grow my business. Hence, I find someone to help me grow my business. What do you have to offer? Boom. Clean, donezo, transactional. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't also provide value. You can also build relationship. You can also be an attractive character to your specific ideal client avatar. Like, all those things exist. But man, everything behind walls and everything was so secretive and tongue-in-cheek. I don't know. It was just weird.
There was just a lot of complicated things too. Like, you have to set funnels and automations and autoresponders and 5 trillion drips of campaigns. And we did
send
all
this
of
email
this
at this time, and then you
and
split test that. It's like, oh my gosh.
In fairness, though, we've made millions of dollars.
Yes.
With the old way.
With the old way. It was just hard.
The old way still pseudo works.
It does.
So we're going to talk about adapting it.
Yeah.
But you cannot stay stuck in the old way, or like your business is not going to do anything.
Yeah.
Even yesterday. Sorry, what were you going to say?
We've been saying you can't sell a 2019 offer.
No, it's true.
No, they're dead. Like, you got to move on. You got to adapt. I was telling one of our clients yesterday, I was like, you have to divorce the old way. Like, you are still you're still clinging to parts of it, and so much of it has adapted. Now, like him said, there are ways that we are hybridizing, I made that word up. That's not a real word. I mean, if you had already figured I made that word up. But
yeah, I think like yesterday in coaching, literally yesterday, I had a client who was like, "Oh my gosh, Kim, you have been telling us this for the longest time." Me and Chris, she dropped a podcast from Amy Porterfield and Jenna Kutcher, and they were talking about how organic traffic is dead, and how they're pivoting and shifting their whole businesses. And it's the same thing we were talking about in the Sam Card Mastermind back in February. So we went to top 40 online sellers.
Yeah, we got a plaque.
Oh yeah, we did.
Oh, where my thumb? There we go. Boom, right there.
Yeah, that's for processing.
Yeah,
multiple 7 figures. I know that it feels like a humble brag, but
a little bit of a humble brag.
It's the truth. So anyway, what was really eye-opening for me was how so many people in that space had built huge audiences, right? And I think they were still, I think in many ways, they're still running in the same exact way they always have.
It was crazy.
You know, they're still basically operating with like not even a 2019 mentality, almost like a 2015 mentality.
Yeah, it's true.
And so like new seasons, y'all, require new skills. You have to upskill.
Can you talk about though why some of that happened?
Yes,
in
let's
the
do
ways that it did, because it's
for sure.
There's reasons for it.
There are reasons for it. So the first one, we've been talking about these 3 major shifts in the market, but I think the first one is Amazon culture.
Yeah.
So pre-pandemic,
Amazon brain is what I call it.
Exactly. We were still like the general public had not yet fully adopted online commerce like we have.
Yeah.
I feel like the online space is always like 10, 15 years ahead sometimes of the market pre-pandemic. Yeah. But then the pandemic hit and everyone was closed and Amazon, was making money hand over fist. A lot of the behaviors that we saw in the pandemic of like ordering everything online. I mean, we saw people who never bought regular things from Amazon in our family start ordering beds and mattresses and like their toothbrush and toilet paper, and we're like, what?
For real. That's not exaggerate. That's not hyperbole. That's for real.
And those behaviors really like how do I say this? Like these behaviors stuck around after the pandemic. Yeah. And a lot of what we see in the online space with like multiple funnels and having to warm people up and build a lot of relationship, that happened because we were trying to actually correct essentially the disconnect between the physical commerce space and the online commerce space. People still had a lot of skepticism around giving their credit card to a random website and getting scammed and having a business kind of like take your money and disappear, because those things happened with online businesses. Let's not act like we're like immune
just
to
online
it.
in general.
Right. And so now people are like, I want what you offer and I want it now. I don't want to wait to find out what you sell in your 7-day email sequence. I don't want to go through a huge launch and maybe 6 months from now when you open the cart buy. I want to buy today.
Yeah, and some of that is just a natural progression of a market.
It is.
So obviously Amazon brain was a big part of it. People got accustomed to spending money on the internet.
But it was only an
acceleration. And there wasn't the fear. Yeah, so it accelerated and it normalized being like, oh yeah, sure. Now, honestly, we do things and I don't even think we think about how weird it is. Yeah. So for us, many of us in our generation, like Uber is hitchhiking with a smartphone. Let's call it what it is. Airbnb is literally squatting, but you're just paying the person to squat in a bedroom. You know what I mean? Like it's weird. And so a lot of these catalyzed and normalized the marketplace, and we can benefit from that because people are less unwilling to spend money on the internet. But then the second part of it, and there's more, but the second part of it is the natural progression of a marketplace. Yeah. So the reason now is they've been through the webinars. They've gone through the sales emails. Yep. They've applied. They know you're pitching something at the end. Mm-hmm. So it just feels inauthentic. Yeah. When you're like, oh, but wait till the end. There's a surprise, a bonus. Like they know it's coming. And that doesn't mean it's not effective as a mechanism, but it means that they're less willing to exhaust calories because they've heard it a billion trillion times. Yeah. And so getting out ahead of it and now having layers of specificity is really important because people need to know what you do and who you do it for. And if they don't know those two things within, like, I'm talking seconds. They're gone. They're going to find somebody else that actually is communicating that well. And so we're seeing stupid things work, like putting a VSL on YouTube or running ads directly to something that usually we would have been like, no, 6 months of warming you up on our email list. Those are things that would have been required before. And now it's like, dude, I know I don't have the appetite for it. Just tell me what you do and who you do it for. I just want to know, like, what's the format? Like, what is, how much is it? So the hard part about that, it's easier, right? It's easier to get to
the hard
your
part
audience.
is that it's easier?
No. The easy part is that the easier part is that you can go direct. The harder part is now the benefit of having the old way and extrapolating this out and having the 2-hour webinar and the 7 days of emails is you could slowly kind of work through your sales process, your messaging, your different buyer types, all the things that we preach and teach, right? Building in scarcity or working with a deadline. So if just going evergreen alone, you're removing the deadline potentially, unless you create a deadline or create scarcity. And so now you have to truncate those mechanisms into like small window of opportunity.
You have to know what your message is. You have to be clear about it. You have to communicate it fast.
Yeah. And so a lot of people think we're just like, hey, just go direct and sell on the internet. And they think there's no strategy involved. And 1,000%, I don't want to say it's harder. It's easier tech-wise, but it can be somewhat harder if you don't know what you're doing to communicate the message you need to communicate in the smaller time frame that you have to do.
It's only harder if you don't have the tools and you don't have the frameworks. That's basically 100%. It. If you're just trying to wing it, it's harder.
Yeah.
But here's what I really, really like, Chris, and I think you mentioned something that was really important, kind of going back a little bit. You mentioned that, we do weird things on the internet.
Yeah.
Or we just do weird things as a society, right?
We're weird.
We're just weird.
Humans are weird.
But I remember 5 years ago, getting someone to give us their credit card and put it on our website was a scary thing for them.
Yeah, super.
And that's part of why we love Samcart.
Are you saving this?
Yeah, right. It's a secure checkout. We had to let them know, we don't save any data on our website. It's stored securely.
Even for email opt-ins, you had to put that. Remember? We will never share your. Yeah.
Now, literally, our clients are like, you have my card on file. Just
charge it.
I don't want
but thousands
of dollars.
We're not talking like renew me for $15.
They don't want to have to put their credit card details. They're just like, it's saved, Yeah. So that's just one way in which we're seeing behavior shift. Yeah. And really, this isn't something that we're saying, oh my gosh, like this is the new way. It's like, no, we're looking at behavioral patterns in the market. The market was not ready 5 years ago to say, charge my card for like, if you charge a card without someone's explicit
written
consent, there would be a chargeback and there would be problems, right?
Mutiny, yep.
Now it's like people are used to doing that. And so that's, I think, one of the biggest shifts that a lot of online businesses have not caught up to yet. They're still working in the old way. I think the second one is really interesting too. And this is all about trust, y'all. So Edelman Barometer came out 2 years ago, almost 3 years ago, 2022. It's like a trust barometer, and they do.
How do they measure stuff like that?
Polls. Yeah, they just ask questions.
It has to be just polling,
right?
Yeah.
So Gallup poll, actually, Edelman was this year. Gallup poll was in 2022. Edelman's 2025 trust barometer is showing that trust is eroding. Like, we've had issues with trust, especially with how the pandemic was mishandled and all the conspiracies.
Careful,
that
we're releasing us on
true,
YouTube,
right? And how people don't trust institutions. They don't trust big government. They don't trust big tech. They don't trust big corporations, big ag, pharma. All of these institutions that people used to trust, now they're asking big questions about. And so in a lot of ways, I feel like that has catapulted and created opportunity for the online space in that there is a bigger appetite for content consumption from independent sources, right?
Citizen journalism.
Like you're seeing the
independent podcasts.
Exactly. You're seeing the explosion of podcasts, the explosion of newsletters and independent publications like Substack just erupting. All of a sudden, newsletters are a thing again in the online space.
Yeah, that's crazy.
We're like, what?
It's like,
so consumption, the appetite for content has never been higher.
Yeah.
The problem is that we're in a really weird socioeconomic cultural moment, and I feel like online business hasn't caught up completely to that yet.
Yeah.
And so they're still creating content like it's 2019 with like the PC ultra polished, kind of persona.
Look at my life, it's perfect.
Exactly. Ultra aesthetic.
It's beautiful.
Right.
Here's my lunch.
And then it's overly produced.
Yeah.
You know, we have like
Yeah.
there
12
was a
angles.
point in like 2019, let's say 2018, where it's like, oh, you have to spend $200,000 to have your course overly produced by a company, and it's got to look super incredible. Like the production bar was really high.
Yeah, you had to hire Scorsese to put your course out.
And now it's like, guys,
here's me on my iPhone.
People want they want raw and real, and that's what they connect to because mainstream media has been lying to us for so many years, and all these, you know, talking heads and pundits, just the lies are so ridiculous that people are like, I just want to talk to a small business. I want to talk to a creator like they're my friend.
I don't know if you guys are aware of this, but we're big. Well, I'm Kim via osmosis, big comic book, movie, TV show fans. Yeah, Kim via osmosis. She's married to me. She has no choice. It's like I
love them though. Yeah, they're awesome.
She does. Don't let her fool you.
I'm not a hyper nerd, but I really enjoy them.
So I was a massive fan of. I'm less now because it is kind of dark, but the Daredevil TV series. And what's crazy is, so if you don't know the history behind it, the show launched on Netflix. It had 3 seasons. It was really, really had like a cult following. It got canceled, and then there was like a huge petition. Like millions of signatures. The actors even got involved with sharing the link to the change.org. Seriously, this was a whole thing. Somebody like created a URL, Save Daredevil. Anyways, so they got it saved. Disney got, procured the rights to it and made another season. They just came out. I think it's great. Like, I personally like it. But the crazy thing about it is, and I'm bringing it home here. Kim was looking at me like, land the plane.
No,
land the
I'm not.
Plane, land
no,
the plane.
I'm not.
Land the plane.
I'm not.
So I feel the look.
Okay, I won't look at you.
I go down rabbit holes, and she's like, Chris, land it, land. That's what she's gonna do. Start like this, just hand gesture when I need to shut up.
When you guys see me doing this,
yeah, that's what she means. Chris, stop. But what's crazy is that people are complaining because it feels overly produced and it's too CGI, and they like the old gritty feel of the original Daredevil. And we went back and watched some of the episodes, guys. They didn't even use like camera stabilizers. Yeah. Like literally, the camera's like shaky on shots that are not supposed, like not like a Jason Bourne thing where it's like intentionally shaky. It's like no, it's just low budget. It's very authentic. Right. It feels real. And so the more that AI becomes a thing in the world, which is going to be the case, it's going to feel buttoned up and pretty and perfect. And unfortunately, people are going to start to identify that as not real, real. Yeah. And if you think I'm lying, history repeats itself, or if you think I'm exaggerating, look what happened. People started figuring out that there was like robocalls, or they were actually chatting with they would be representative, you know, like a bot, you know, that we push back on things that aren't real. It's just history. It's proven that over and over again. And so when AI starts pretending to be real and you start seeing pictures that are fake, like I was listening, Kim and I have been listening to these awesome YouTube videos from like Billy Graham or Napoleon Hill. And then the other day I'm listening to Napoleon Hill, I'm doing air quotes. And literally he's like, in the days of blogging and social media, I'm like, what? This is not real. This is AI.
And then we did a little bit of research, and we were like, I actually ran it by Grok. I was like, Grok, I have a feeling this is AI. Can you like scrape it and let me know? Yeah. And it was like, yeah, absolutely. It is AI.
It's AI.
Here's why. It's tagged this way. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
So I listened to this whole thing, and I was so connected to the message, only to find out it's not actually.
But it was
something that Napoleon said,
or Billy Graham. But people were calling him like a false teacher in the comments about Billy Graham.
What?
Yeah, because it said something that wasn't necessarily like scripturally biblically accurate.
So we have a problem.
And so people in the comments were calling out Billy Graham, and it wasn't even Billy Graham. It was just something that was a creation of AI. And so we've yet to see a lot of that.
Yeah, that's
going to wait until people are getting framed for crimes, or for real, like it could get nasty with AI. Like we haven't seen the nefarious use case yet.
I mean, we have
black hat,
small scale.
Yeah, but like, you know, hacking accounts, like it's going to happen, and we have to figure that out as a society, how we're going to counter that. But the point is landing the plane. The point is that as we start associating not just the distrust in mainstream, buttoned up, overly produced, now AI included in that camp, the more people are going to be like, I like this because it feels real. I like this because it feels cozy. We're going to talk about cozy content. I like this because it feels human. And I think we're going to start choosing human because it's relatable, has a soul.
Yeah,
a lot of stuff doesn't feel like it has a soul.
Yeah, and I think that absolutely moves us into third shift, which is very obvious. It's AI, right?
Yeah.
I feel like the last 2 years have been crazy. And really, it didn't really start, I think, impacting as much online businesses up until probably like 6 months ago. No,
Yeah.
maybe longer. I
Yeah.
would say the fall of 2024.
Fall 24.
That's when everyone was
Yeah.
like, oh my gosh. And it was weird because we thought, oh, it's the election. And it was. A big part of that was the
Yep.
election.
It was both.
But another part of it that I don't think anyone is really talking about that much until recently is like, dude, the value proposition has changed. It's not information anymore. You know,
No.
if you are selling courses, you have to pivot. You have to change your business model to include something else that is more value, because people can just, they just don't want to go through,
Yeah.
50 videos in your course and members area. They want answers now, not more information. And so we've been saying this answer is not information for like 2 years.
Literally.
But now it's actually like hitting critical mass. We were talking about it in the context of content. Now it's like, oh, it's also your offers. You know,
everything.
you can't just stay stuck in the old way. And so that's really what we've been working on, is helping our clients transition their business, pivot their business.
Yeah.
We've pivoted our own business.
Massively.
Thank the Lord, because that is where I feel like spiritual discernment really comes into play.
Yeah.
Not that I'm trying to say, oh, look at us, we're so awesome. No, y'all, like, we can be idiots just like everyone else. And the Holy Spirit.
We wouldn't have done it in our own strength,
we
for
couldn't.
sure.
We
No.
couldn't have. We wouldn't
No.
have seen this.
No, it was spirit led.
The Holy Spirit just kept nudging us and leading us like, hey, I remember clearly 2022, you have to start a coaching program. And I remember I had no idea who was going to help us do that, because
Yeah.
I'd never done that. And you've been telling us we have to do this. People are ready for the next thing.
Yeah.
And I don't know what that needs to look like, but we have to figure it out.
Yeah.
And so we went out, hired Jennifer Allwood, who's incredible, one of my business coaches and mentors, and she showed us how to do it, and we crushed. But it was hard and it was scary. And I think that's, can you speak to that? Like, can you speak to the fear sometimes that people experience when they're having to change things, when so many things are changing at once? Because we're seeing that with our clients, and it's challenging. It's a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot. I mean, obviously the biggest piece of advice that I think Kim mentioned is you got to stay prayed up.
Yeah.
Stayed up and prayed up, because if not, man, you're going to look back. I mean, at best, you're going to be second in the race at best. And there's a lot of ways. And again, this is not us. This is not us driving in our own strength here. We were ahead in many ways, saying things years ago that honestly at the time were very much rejected by even our clients.
100%.
That now we're like, oh my gosh, you were right. And it's like, well, we're just messengers. We're just communicating things. That we're downloading, that we're receiving. And so I think that's the number one part, is you got to stay connected to source. We're entering into an era where it's now more important than ever, because we guys within a very short period of time are not going to be the most intelligent beings on this planet any longer.
I think we're there.
We're probably there, right? And so the value, not only is the value proposition shifted, but you have to tap into a different state of being. You have to be a spirit being. You have to utilize your spiritual gifts. For basically since the Industrial Revolution, if we're being candid, intelligence, the seeking of and the acquisition of intelligence, or furthering intelligence, was our entire paradigm. It was our entire focus. It's where we
developing the intellect.
And I'm not saying that we're going to go back to being hillbillies and not knowing anything. Like, that's not what I'm saying. But we stopped flexing the spirit muscle.
Yeah.
We stopped and I remember hearing from people, it's good to be cultured and hear from people from other, places in the world. But like, there's people in like Nigeria, for example, that they declare things. I mean, the way they pray is very different than the way we pray in this country.
Right.
And they speak with authority. I mean, and they actually see miracles. Like, one of them said, I don't remember who, and I don't remember where I saw it. You see a lot of content on the internet, but he said, people in America say that, why don't we see miracles like we used to see in the Bible in today's era? And he's like, it has nothing to do with God not showing up. It has everything to do with you not praying that way for those things to happen. God doesn't show up because you desire it. God shows up because you showed up first and you were declaring and praying and believing, and then God showed up. And so I think we have to shift that, because at the end of the day, what is going to make us more valuable than anything else is having that spiritual discernment. That is our ultimate cheat code as beings. That's how God intended for us to be. And so if we're trying to compete with ChatGPT, it was funny because I used to joke and tell our clients, I listen to books at 2.5x on Audible because my brain just moves really fast. Kim has to tell me all the time, like, stop. She told me today after a session, she's like, stop going so fast. Like, I would hate to be your brain. It's so fast. And this
Did
just
I
having,
say it like that, though?
not like that. That's how I received it.
Stop going so
Oh my
fast.
gosh, like, how do you even keep up with that? I'm exhausted for you.
Yeah.
And that's just always been my brain. I'm A, D, 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 D. And then some more D. And so for me, that's just how my brain operates. And so I joked and said, I don't know if you watched The Office, but the episode where Dwight is trying to compete with the website and he's like trying to make more sales on the website. That was like me with ChatGPT trying to read books fast enough. And it's like, it's impossible. You're not going to win that race. But you have spiritual giftings. Maybe they've been unearthed, like you don't even know they exist or what they are.
Yeah.
And people are going to create that connection with you. And it's going to give you the power of discernment to know where things are going and how things are shifting and give you certainty in a time of uncertainty. I think that's huge.
Yeah, I think that's already happening too.
Yeah.
Where Chris and I were talking last week and we were like, you know, what is the next evolution for human beings? And I absolutely agree. I think
It's a return.
It's absolutely a return. It's not an evolution per
Yeah.
se. It's a
Restoration.
It's a redemption
Yeah.
of like who we were actually meant to be.
Yeah.
And I feel like we're seeing that even in the online space the last couple of years. Like so many people are talking about their faith, you know, that you would never.
Yeah.
We were one of those people. Like I don't think people would have ever guessed that I'm a pastor's kid or that I was Christian. And I think we all kind of felt the calling of like, what have you been doing? Like, why are you leaving Jesus at the door? And I have a whole episode on that will link.
People commenting all the time.
It's crazy how all of us at the same time are getting the same message. And it's not like we're going to church together, you know, like we don't know half these people.
We're not sharing notes from Bible study.
Exactly.
No.
So that's really, really powerful.
Yeah. We also been saying too, the counter to AI is HR, human relationship. And I think leaning into your people and what they want. So like, for example, the client you were referring to earlier, it was like, but what do your people want?
Yep.
Like, what are they asking for?
What do they actually want?
So not only do we get the confirmation about coaching, group coaching and one-on-one coaching through being spirit-led,
right.
But guys, like even if it wasn't that, people were begging us, can I work with you guys one-on-one? Like, oh my gosh, can we do, like we would do something where it was like one-on-one touch to us, not just membership stuff. Or like coaching calls, right? We would do monthly coaching calls,
and
they would go 4 hours, and nobody would leave.
Yeah,
like literally the drop off was zero,
and
we're not that interesting. So it's like no, there's something here to this.
They're ready for the next.
Yeah,
thing.
they're craving it, and so so the signs were there, and sometimes we do a really bad job. And there's a principle around this. It's a paradox. But basically is like there's like a blindness that comes to you being in your situation and not being outside of and looking in on your situation. And so maybe the power of, masterminding and coaches, because they help you overcome that paradox. Sometimes, we do that, right? We see something in somebody else's business. Why are they doing that? And it's like, dude, you're missing like 48 things that are so obvious to everybody else but you.
Right.
And it says nothing about you, by the way. There's not you don't have a deficit in some way. It's an actual paradox that happens to all of us, including us as coaches. Like we're like, why are we doing that? And it's like, yeah, because you're blind to it.
Yeah.
So some of it is just leaning in and being mindful of that and talking to your people, and always start with your person. Who is your ICA? What are they asking for? There's always a new opportunity, guys. Always, 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 and forever. There's always a new opportunity. There's always a new blue ocean. There's always something. With AI, people are going to be underserved in a different way.
Yeah.
And so what does that look like? And it's not saying the answer for you or everybody is, oh, well, Kim and Chris said coaching. He's saying go be a coach. That's not what we're saying.
No, please don't do that.
It's not a matter of copying the playbook. It's a matter of leaning into your people, because they'll help you dictate that in conjunction with a healthy spiritual life, and so that you have double confirmation.
Exactly. I love that. That's awesome. All right. So should we close it here and start part 2
No.
and get into specifics?
No.
Or do you want to keep going?
Let's keep going.
We're 40 minutes in. Are you sure?
No, we're not. We're actually not. We're not 40 minutes in. I think I started recording like 20 minutes before we actually did. So we got more time.
If it's up to this one, we'd be here for 3 hours.
We'd be here for hours and hours and hours.
Well, I want to test. This is the marketer in me, y'all. I want to test y'all's appetite for long form.
Because we do 3 hours and then you guys tune in for a total of 12 combined minutes.
Right.
Yeah.
Like what is the appetite for long form? Do you want us to do 1 hour long episodes?
Let us know in the
30
comments.
minutes? 3 hours. We're here for all of it. So let us know, because I'm very
Why don't I do
curious.
some quick rapid fire with you then about stuff that we talked about? And you
Like, he
speak to
doesn't
it.
want to end the episode. Do you see him? Like,
We'll
just
see.
freaking
Tell us
out?
in the comments. Be like, no, shut up at 30 minutes. I have stuff to do. Or, hey, you guys
Yeah.
can talk and I'll stay. So let us know in the comments.
Sure. We can always break it down into part
Break it.
2 if we need to.
Break it down. All
Okay,
right.
cool. So,
We talked about relationship building,
Yep.
strategic alliances, and finding and sticking with your tribe.
yeah, I think one thing too is like, you cannot play scared in this season.
No.
If you're playing scared, you have to get your mind right. You have to get your mind right. And I get it, y'all, especially as a woman. I think a lot of change and chaos doesn't sit well with us generally, because
Yeah.
biologically we're wired for protection and safety. And chaos is really a man's game in a lot of ways. Like, you guys are wired biologically to like be the warrior, hunter, you know, fight the fight. And chaos almost is exciting in a lot of ways, because
Yeah.
it's a new challenge, something that you're seeking after.
True.
Whereas even if you're like me and we all have masculine and feminine traits, right? But like,
Yeah.
even if you're a woman like me and you have like that fire, that hunger, like, I tend to gravitate towards more of like the bro circles, because I'm aggressive and ambitious somehow. I wasn't like that before. I just developed into that. But even if you're like me, it's still scary to see all the things that you used to rely on and do not work as well. And I'm talking practical things, like launches are pretty much dead right now. We're going
Yeah.
to talk about that, right?
Sorry,
things
Jeff.
like... Sorry, Jeff. No, Jeff is adapting. So he's
No,
cool.
he is adapting.
He's awesome.
Follow Jeff if you want to know how launches are adapted. Jeff Walker, by the way.
He's awesome. And then we see, things like, email is totally different now. Like, there's a lot of things that have shifted there.
Yeah, it's true.
Social, there's just all kinds of new paradigms in terms of algorithms and how platforms, are kind of copying each other. And then I also think that like the traditional funnel is not working anymore.
Yeah.
And that's hard. I think there's a lot of fear. But y'all, here's the thing. I get it, and I want to empathize if you're in that place where nothing's working. Like,
Yeah.
we have clients who like their business just stopped. Like,
Yeah.
their lead gen just stopped. Their clients, stopped buying like this. All of a sudden, out of
overnight,
the blue,
yep.
Literally overnight. And it's challenging to watch them go through that, because we have been through that in our business, and it's really hard.
Yeah.
But you have to believe, and you have to continue to level up your mindset and know that there's a new opportunity in every season. If you don't do that, the mind game is the thing that ultimately is going to determine whether you win or lose.
Yep.
You will get stuck in perpetual overthinking, overanalyzing, or getting down on yourself. If you get stuck there, there's no coming out of it. Like, you have to pull yourself out of it, or at some point it's a point of no return. And we have seen businesses close left and right,
Unfortunately.
because of what I'm just talking about. It's a mindset thing first. And if you don't put yourself in a place where you're surrounding yourself with tribe and, collaborations and alliances with other people, and you're not in a space that is actually positive and directionally successful, there is going to be a lot of things that you're going to, really get to a point where you're just self-doubt, lots of fear, lots of
too much.
confusion. It's too stressful. So courage is everything. Get your mind right. Get yourself around people who will support you. Listen to shows like this one, encouraging, uplifting. Hey, here's a positive. Here's the
Yeah,
opportunity.
and real.
And real, for sure.
Don't fall, because I feel like the online space has been uplifting and encouraging for a long time. But then I think a lot of them got hoodwinked because they were ignoring some of the real.
Yeah, I agree.
And I think it's a matter of being, I always say this, when I tell our clients something scary that could be received as scary,
Yeah,
I always say this is not to scare you, it's to empower you.
100%.
And so if we're telling you something, it's not us being pessimistic, negative. It's like what Tony Robbins says. He's like, if there's weeds, don't pretend like there's not weeds.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So we know there's weeds in the world.
There's weeds,
We know there's
y'all.
weeds going on right now in this economy.
That's
Like,
okay.
and we know there's an elephant in the room that's replacing people in jobs by the minute.
Yeah.
Like, so let's not pretend like that's not happening.
Let's talk about
and
it.
put our head in the sand and be like, everything's fine in daisies. Like, that's not a strategy, guys. It's
No.
not a strategy. So we move forward, and we move forward empowered, but with equipped knowledge, right?
100%.
So Kim says it best, and I want to repeat, I actually highlighted here because she was speaking to it, but discipline your disappointments.
I don't think that's my original, actually.
It might not be her
I know
original,
I say it
but
a lot,
she
but
says it a lot, so I'm going to give her...
I think it's Tony Robbins' quote.
Okay, well, TM, Tony Robbins, but also assist to Kim. Assist to Kim.
Okay.
We'll buy the trademark from
Let
him.
me ask Rock.
Yeah.
Who said this
Discipline
first?
your disappointments. Guys, you cannot... We had a client, it sounded like Bill Cosby, from Bill Cosby himself. I know that's like a name you can't say anymore, but... If you've ever watched Bill Cosby himself, he said, you cannot... Oh, no, that was Eddie Murphy. Anyways, regardless. Discipline your disappointments. So...
What? We just went on a whole thing.
Yeah, that was totally random. So discipline your disappointments. We just had a client. I'm getting back on track here. And one of the things I told her, I borrowed this from Ryan Levesque since we're borrowing statements from people now. But I told her, I said, the name of the game is to stay in the game until you figure out how to win the game.
Yep.
And shout out Ryan Levesque because he said that. And I feel like in a season where there's a massive shift, which is what we're seeing, we had a client that was ready to throw in the towel and she was like wanting out of her contract. And it was like, no. Like, you're going to honor your contract, first of all. Second of all, let's figure out how to help you win. And we just got a really, really positive report. It took her like a month or two. She's been battling her butt off. We have been too. Everybody has been. But you've got to discipline those disappointments. You cannot let yourself spiral. And you cannot be like, I'll just go get a job. How long do you think it's going to be before they replace you? If you're not able to sell it because of AI in your market, what are the odds you're going to get a job in that exact same market doing the exact same thing where they're not going to replace you with AI, if that was your concern?
Right.
They're going to get replaced faster because you can't
100%.
adapt that job to what you need it to be to actually work. You can't go to your boss and be like, well, what if I do it this way instead? He's like, nah, we've replaced you.
Right.
Like, that's real. That's happened.
Yeah.
At least in your business, you can adapt and be AI enabled, or you can say, I'm going to give you prompts about how you can use AI to do the thing that I used to teach you to do. So it's about that adaptation. But if you don't discipline your disappointments, you will spiral, you will wallow, you'll feel sorry for yourself. Everybody is going through this, whether it's the AI or whether it's whatever. The economy, everybody's going through it. So you
100%.
have to discipline those disappointments.
Yep. I asked Grok and it said
Jim
the
Rohn.
original one is Jim Rohn. And he says, leaders must learn to discipline their disappointments. It's not what happens to us. It is what we choose to do about what happens that
Bingo.
makes the difference.
Love it.
And it's so freaking good. I love, he also, and this is also kind of leads us to the next thing. You know, whenever there's changes, we resist change. And so we get from our clients like, oh, but it's so much work, or like, oh my gosh, I have to learn this whole new thing. It's like, no, you don't.
Yeah.
First of all, it's getting easier and much simpler to run an online business.
True.
But sometimes getting yourself out there, putting content out consistently, learning how to actually sell with your content, build desire with your content. It is a skill up, right? You're skilling up. And sometimes I still get pushback from some of our clients on that. And I'm like, listen, okay, so I don't know. Grok is a little confused. I don't know who originally said this, but I remember listening, and I think maybe even Jennifer Allwood reiterated this. She said, listen, in business, you get to pick your suck. And I love that perspective, right? So
true.
Someone, I don't know who said it, but this kind of relates to it, right? They said, like, there's two kinds of pain. There is the pain of discipline, and then there's the pain of regret. I think that's a Tony Robbins.
It might be.
But I love that paradigm.
All quotes, you either
All
just
the quotes.
attribute it to Tony Robbins, but probably Jay Shetty posted about it too at some point.
Oh my gosh.
Shout out Jay Shetty for all of the most historic quotes of all time. Et tu Brute by Jay Shetty.
So one of the things that I always tell our clients, like, listen, you can choose to be upset about this new way of doing things. You can choose to be like, oh, I have to learn how to build desire in my content. I can't just post, frivolous things like an influencer on Instagram and people are going to hire me.
Yeah.
Or,
oh my gosh.
Or you can be upset.
Why did we ever think that would work?
I know. Or you could be upset
Here's my
when
flowers.
you're
Join my coaching program.
Or you can be upset when your leads suddenly die all of a sudden and there's no one buying and you have a hard time paying your bills. Like, that sucks much more.
Yeah.
Like, so pick your suck. Like, what sucks more, right?
Yeah.
And I think in a lot of ways, we have a hard time doing trade-offs in online business.
Yes.
It's like, it has to be one way or the other. It's like, guys, let's adapt and evolve. It doesn't mean it's going to be harder. It's just new.
I think some of these people, I'm going to be real right now. I'm just going to be real raw. But some of y'all, some of them parents out there that these people had were softy McSoft pants, because I can tell you one thing. My parents, and I know Kim's parents, obviously, did not set us up to think that life was going to be easy.
Like what? Why did you say obviously? Because I have Latino parents.
Oh yeah,
Hispanic
that is not the Latino culture. If you know anything about Latino culture, it's life. So my dad used to say, "Life is hard and then you die." Like
no, he didn't.
Yes, he did.
No, he didn't.
Because I would be like, "Yeah, it's hard," or whatever. I'd make some beta boy comment, you know. Little 6-year-old Chris was like, "Dad, it's hard," and he's like, "Well, life is suck and then you die, or life is hard and then you die."
Life is hard.
Life is hard.
Die.
Life is hard, and then you die. Not until you die, and then you die.
Your dad should have been a motivational speaker.
Oh, 100%. No, he would have been a bestseller. No, but these people need this message. You know, like
it's true.
Life is hard, man. It's not. I think too, and for the Christians in the room, you know this, right? Like life actually gets harder when you declare not only when you declare yourself for the kingdom, but then when you declare yourself a kingdom builder. Because like we work with courageous Christians. We're not out here for like the Salvation Sunday folks. They're like, I got my salvation. I just show up on Sunday.
Wait. Did you just? I have never heard you say this.
I make it up.
You 100% just
made it up.
The Salvation
The
Sunday.
power of winging it.
I love this.
The Salvation Sunday people. So Salvation Sunday people, again, I'm not hating if that's your thing, but like they get to the point where they're saved and that's enough for them.
They don't grow in their spiritual
That's enough
walk.
for them.
Yeah.
They're cool with that. Like they're fine. They show up on Sunday. They go through the motions. They eat at the same place at the end. They make their lunch reservations. Like this is what they do. This is their, like they read their Bible. They do their devotional every day. They read the verse of the day. Like that's what they do. And that's awesome. And I'm happy for them. And I'm glad that they found Jesus. I am. But that's not who we are, and that's not who we work with. We work with courageous Christians that not just declare themselves for the kingdom, they declare themselves as kingdom builders. And there's a difference.
We're all here with like the sword of the spirit.
Oh yeah.
People
No, Kim's reading. You know the book Kim's reading right now is called Girls with Swords. Like this is my wife. You know
I love
what I mean?
it.
Like
I'm ready for the battle.
No, sometimes she prays now, and it's like, like I think she's mad at me. Like it's full Latin energy. She's like, and I'm declaring, and I'm like, whose black folk church did you attend this week? Like all that energy, like for real.
He just doesn't know. He doesn't know.
No, so I still pray like a white dude. I got to step it up. I do. I'm like, well, dear Father, please help me today. You know, with my pursuits. Please make me prosperous and give me peace. Why are you
making me laugh
and
so
it's
much
like, like it's just like it's going in on it, you know. So I gotta evolve beyond my whiteness in that regard because I really keep it very Caucasian in my prayer.
Oh my gosh, what's the girl from the Terminator? I forget her name.
Oh, Sarah Connor.
No, Sarah Connor is my spirit animal.
100%. You know, if Sarah Connor is not on her wallpaper on her phone right now, I'd be shocked. I just gave you a quote from Sarah Connor the other day. She's like, I want it. Send it to me.
True, you did.
She did. This just happened. This is real life. This is life married to a Puerto Rican. I'm telling you. Not a real not a New Rican, a real Puerto Rican.
Thank you. No, but for real, y'all.
I
feel like this is the time that we're living in. This is not a time, like we are at war, you guys. And people get scared when I say that, but it's the freaking truth.
Yeah.
We might not have the war in the traditional sense, like maybe our grandparents, where they were, you know, scared of like
nuclear
missiles and nuclear bombs and, you know, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But we're in an information war. We're in a spiritual war. We're in an economic war. There's so many things.
You said info.
Oh my gosh. There's so many things that are happening right now that we have to be aware of. Yeah. And I don't want people to think like, oh, you know, if you're not a Christian, you're not welcomed here. Chris said, you know, we work with courageous Christians. We work with people from all walks of life. Like we have clients who are atheists. We're clients that don't believe like us at all.
That's true. They're going to learn.
At least for right now.
We're going to learn them.
We don't think, right. We don't feel like God is calling us to be Christian coaches, like for Christians, right?
Yeah, no.
But we're bold about our faith. We talk about our faith a lot. And I think that just naturally attracts people who are like us.
Yeah, it's funny because we've actually had a lot of people that don't share that. And we've had some really amazing conversations with them about it. But what I mean by that is you're out there, you're kingdom building, and you tend to attract a lot of kingdom builders when you do that.
And you know that it's
life gets extraordinarily hard when you're a kingdom. When you declare yourself a kingdom builder, which is what I was saying, what I was trying to say before, and I got myself extremely distracted. But like the enemy comes after you.
It's true.
Like you just said, like I'm an enemy of you, and I am declaring myself against literally the prince of this world. What do you think's going to happen?
A target is going to be on your back.
You put a target
on
you. So you better stop slipping. You better stop living in compromise. Like you got to, right? Like you got to be out there because I'm telling you, I thought life when I became a Christian at 25. I'm like, hey, it's going to be great. You know, Joel Osteen. And then it was like, hey, that wasn't my experience at all. Like, I'm like, I need that prosperity gospel back, Joel Osteen. Because that was not what I expected.
Oh my gosh, Chris.
But hilarious. No, I actually like Joel.
You're hilarious.
Thank you.
Now I lost my train of thought.
That's
but
what I tend
was
to
going to
do.
add to something that you were saying that was
brain.
so good. Oh man, I forgot.
Salvation Sundays.
Salvation Sundays.
Salvation Sunday.
But getting back on track with the list, we have a list.
Yeah, thank God we have a list.
Thank God we have a list. We talked about courage. We talked about how that's so important. You can't play scared. You got to go all out. And I feel like this is a season to try new things and be a risk taker. Like, listen,
you have to.
In a shifting economy, when things are pivoting, when things are changing, you just got to try stuff and not be afraid of failure. Okay, if it doesn't work, great. You start something else. Like, it's not a big deal. I feel like a lot of us want to have all the freaking little pieces before we're ready to take the first step. And that's not, you will, guys, the name of the game is speed. It's speed. We told our clients, listen, the theme for this year is fast.
The future is fast.
And the reason that we're simplifying everything is because we're trying to go faster. Yes. We can't go fast if it's overly complicated.
You guys,
It's got to be lean and mean. And so that means that, like, you got to take the first step before you know all the pieces, before you know how you're going to make it work. I'll give you an example. We launched our coaching group last year. 2024? Yeah, last year.
Yeah.
And had no idea, group coaching, right? We had one-on-one coaching for a while and had no idea what we were going to teach, how it was going to be formatted.
No idea.
How the structure was going to work. But we didn't care. I was like, listen, we're going to learn from their behavior and we're going to try some things. And we tried some things that didn't work, right? Yeah. Like, we broke them out into pods and they hated being in pods.
Oh my gosh.
It was so awkward.
It was so awkward.
One session. And then we didn't do it anymore, right? But slowly over time, we understood what they needed, what they wanted, and they started getting results that we had no idea were even possible in a group setting. That, like, changed our whole paradigm. And we're like, okay, we're going all in on group this year. So it's one of those things where, like, you just have to do it and experiment as you go instead of thinking that you're going to get this magic formula and that everything is going to come into place and you're going to know exactly what you're going to teach, exactly how you're going to pivot, exactly what the offer is going to look like, exactly what the price is. No, you have to test the market and let the market tell you, hey, we want it this way, we want it that way. Simple.
I want it.
Next.
Shorten your planning time. All right, so the future's fast. Kim mentioned that. I want to pull this note up because shorten your planning time. Guys, one of the biggest differences that we've made in this season, you talk about the future being fast, simplify, simplify, simplify. I'm reading a book right now called Blitzscale. It was written by Reid Hoffman, was the one of the co-founders of LinkedIn, big in the, like, tech space, whatever. But he says, get a foundation, make sure your foundation is established, and run fast. So one of the ways that we've done that, and we highly recommend, is to do what we call quarterly rocks. Shout out to one of my personal friends and mentors, Gino Wickman, on that one. Because we operate in quarters now. Also, Brian P. Moran. There's two Brian Morans, one Sam Cart, one author, so I call him Brian P. Moran. But wrote, 12-week year, and he talks about planning in quarters. Highly, 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 highly recommend. It's been a game changer for us.
I love that. Listen, my practical brain is having a hard time. These are all theoretical. Can we jump to the practical ones?
Yeah.
On the bottom of the list?
Yeah.
Okay, I like this.
Down here?
Yeah, down there. Right, perfect. So here's a couple things, y'all. Go up a little bit. Okay, so simplified business models that go deep, not wide.
100%.
Okay, so less offers. Sometimes I think, and this is, we fall into that trap, we have too many offers it's too hard for, like, people do not have the appetite right now to figure out what you do.
They're not going to do it.
If they have to they have to, like, have any calorie exertion. What am I trying to say? Help me out here.
We like consuming calories, not exhausting calories.
If they have to exhaust calories trying to figure out what you do, they're out. So instead, having fewer offers that are way more targeted to the market, meaning they're exactly what people want, and you need to do research and actually test those, that is going to be so much easier. We've simplified our business model significantly.
Technology has given us shallow brains. This is proven scientifically. There's a book about it. You can read it called The Shallows.
The Shallows, yeah.
And we have pancake brains now. We actually have less attention span than a goldfish by 4 seconds. So you don't have time for them to learn about your 72 offers.
Yeah.
Like if you're doing the spray and pray method of just launch a bunch of stuff and then hope.
You're just on a roll with these singers. You're doing the spray and pray?
Spray and pray method. It's when you just launch a bunch of stuff and hope that somebody buys something. It's not going to work.
Yeah.
It's not.
It's true.
There's too many people selling something. People are not going to exhaust the calories to learn what you have and what you sell. They don't care. But you have to be very clear about it.
Yeah. The beauty of that, though, is that there's people selling newsletters making literally 7 figures a month.
It's writing emails, guys.
Writing emails, right? Just emails. Simple business model. Hey, YouTube channel that promotes their free newsletter, and the free newsletter promotes their paid newsletter. Simple. Same thing with like low ticket subscriptions or communities. Simple business model. You don't need ultra complicated with a billion upsells.
We have a lot of people that feel pigeonholed by that.
Yeah,
that they're, but I'm not passionate about just that thing. And it's like,
okay, but just make money with that.
Do you want to have a lot of hobbies? You want to make money? Mm-hmm. And I'm sorry, but again, you got to choose your suck. And I'm that way. I'm very multi-passionate. And so there are things you're going to do as hobbies, and you can find a way to do them as hobbies. And there's things that you can find market penetration and make money. And you can always expand your brand. If you're known for something, guys, I always say this, Amazon sold just books to start. Now Amazon sells everything under the sun, and then some things you don't even know that they sell it.
100%.
And so you can continue to, once you go deep in one area, you can then start to expand. And that's just a general principle, not even a season principle.
Yeah. Another thing I think that's really important this year, y'all, is like you really want to make sure that you're creating content that builds desire for your offers. And we've been saying this ad nauseum, so I'm going to be very short here. Yeah. But we just literally put out a new mini class on my YouTube channel. We'll link it here if you want to go check out how we're doing this. But your content can no longer be random. You can't just post, your content pillars and then have a couple things that you do every day, like stories, and show up every day on stories. It's like, no.
To document your life strategy.
Oh gosh, no. You need to create desire for what you sell, and you do that by bringing people into the behind the scenes.
Yeah, I feel like the vlog is kind of dead, right? The vlog style stuff. Yeah, unless you're like really noteworthy.
I think if you're a content creator and you're just showing people cozy content,
like
you said,
Agreed,
that trend is huge of like just watch silently as I document my life.
Mary's Nest, just cooking in Mary's kitchen, her hill country kitchen.
Right, very simple.
Yeah.
There's still something to be said about that, but most people that we talk to, they're not content creators. Yeah. They're service providers, they're coaches, they're consultants, they have a business.
Yeah.
And so it's like, dude, yes, there's something to be said about showing people how you interact with clients. Yeah. That kind of documentation is great, but not like, oh, hello, good morning. This is what I eat for breakfast. Right.
I have 150 followers.
150
followers on Instagram, and you're documenting dropping your kids off at kindergarten.
But it has nothing to do with what you do.
Nothing to do.
And that's fine occasionally, but when that's 90% of what you post, I'm like, come on.
That's
like I have a friend who literally that is all that she does. And I'm like, oh my gosh, how is this making you money? It's not. I know because we talk about it.
It's not.
And so the time for that, like I think people had that appetite in like 2018, and we were all taking like pictures of ourselves, like we were models on Instagram, and it's like that's not it anymore. So we have to move beyond, and that's kind of like the influencer era a little bit.
Yeah, and
we're not there.
The influencers are that era is really fading out.
Did you see
Kim has been way ahead on that one.
Did you see Dave Ramsey's talk on that? On Sean Cannell's
Yeah, because you shared it with me, yeah.
But did you watch it? Or just
not the whole thing, just the
clip
that you sent me, yeah.
Dude, I'm thrilled that Dave Ramsey is talking about how the age of the influencer is dead.
He goes hard
hard in the paint.
He's wrong about Bitcoin, but he's right about this.
But you know how many people came at me in 2021 when I started talking about that? People were mad, big mad that I said that, but it's true.
They were mad.
I'm sorry, it's true. And now we're seeing that all over, not just online, but we're seeing that in the markets, like in the financial sector, where people are basically saying like, hey, we're going back to a return of proof of work, meaning we're going to invest in businesses who actually generate a profit, not the speculation stuff that we do with like, oh, could they reach unicorn status because we got a random valuation? Yeah,
even in the online space, you see a guy like Alex Hormozy who has emerged
100%.
as kind of like the thought leader in a lot of ways, and it's about money.
It's about money.
It's about money, and the previous ones, if you remember back 5, 6, 7, 8 years, it was about just keep putting out content, just keep putting out content, go sell stuff at a garage sale until you can make enough money with your brand to get brand deals or whatever. Like, keep building your audience. It's going to take years and years and years. And then you have a guy like Hermosi be like, no, I pretty much just put on ads in 1 month. I was going to go broke, and instead I made millions of dollars, and this is how you do it.
100%.
And so I think that's healthy. That's a healthy correction, in my opinion, because I think we were too cutesy in online business, and this feels more transactional in a lot of ways. I know it feels like a gross statement to say that, but
it's true.
Look, when the economy's not good, you don't have time to be playing around with stuff like that. You don't I don't care what your lunch looks like. I need to pay for mine today.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
100%.
You know what I'm saying? Like I don't give a crap what you ate. I got to put food on mine. So,
unless you're a dietitian, and then it makes all the sense in the world that you show that, right?
Context. Yeah, context matters. But if you're a business coach helping people grow an online business, well, I don't care that you had spaghetti and meatballs this morning as your leftovers from last night at Olive Garden.
Show me the strategy.
Yeah.
Show me the
frameworks.
Show
me
the money.
Show me.
But seriously, here's the other thing, Chris. Launches are dead in the water.
We already said that, Jeff.
I know, but I'm going to say that again.
Okay. I'm
going to say that again. Listen.
Jeff gonna be big man.
It's not. You keep saying Jeff. Oh my gosh. At first I thought you were talking about another Jeff.
No, Jeff Walker. Walker, Texas.
Anyway, guys, launches still are working if you have an actual component to it that is done with you.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, here's the thing. Up until last year, I was still seeing a lot of our clients win with launches that were longer, meaning like 5 to, we have one client who does like 3 weeks of live events. And that was still working. But now this year, we're seeing that slow down significantly where I'm to the point, Chris, where I'm just like, I don't want to launch ever. Because I'm not a launch person. I've never been a launch person.
We haven't.
There's many people who built their whole business model off launch. I'm very much like an evergreen person. Like, I love MRR and having continuous cash flow. Like this life that I'm going to launch twice a year.
In other words, a real business.
Thank you. So this is facts.
But for real.
Because
guys.
I heard someone, I think it was Jack from, oh my gosh, what's this funnel timer that we use?
Hurry timer?
No. The other one, the real one.
Deadline funnels?
Deadline funnels, yeah. So the founder, Jack, he said that launches are a sales mechanism. They're not your whole business. And I'm like,
preach, bro. Preach.
It's so true. We've never taught that launches are the thing. Like, in fact, we have a client right now that we're trying to move her away from launches, because if your whole business is launching and then disappearing, it's like, that's a lifestyle. That's not a real business.
Yeah.
And sure, you can make a lot of money in the old way, but the new world isn't going to wait for you to launch 6 months from now.
Even some of the leaders in that space, we won't name names, but even some of the leaders in the launch space,
they're like,
we've personally heard them in person, not like from afar, like actually in the same room, say like, I don't know why we did that. Like, I don't know why we weren't selling all the time.
Right.
And it's like, yeah, we thought that.
We agree.
We agree.
So one of the things that I think is exciting, though, when launches aren't working as well as they used to, though, is that you can actually turn your launch essentially into an evergreen content funnel.
Yes.
And you should have been doing that all along.
It's like Nike. They'll release the shoes and then they continue to sell the shoes that sold out because hello.
They did a good, awesome, big event that got everyone excited.
Yeah. And
they didn't pull the shoe. They kept the shoe on the shelf.
I understand the scarcity aspect of it, limited, availability.
For
it worked
the market.
For a season. But when you've got people who can go to ChatGPT or can literally get online and get blasted with 15 other offers, they're not going to wait 6 months for your epic launch.
Also, people are getting served what they want now via ads. We haven't even talked about that in the newsfeed. And so people don't want to wait. They want what they want. They want it now. Remember we talked about the Amazon effect.
They'll wait 6 months to go to the Tony Robbins date with Destiny
100%.
Because it's freaking Tony Robbins.
Right.
But they're going to do other things in the meantime.
100%.
And even Tony's doing his online now, not in person, and it might be for that reason. So they can do it more often, or Evergreen. I don't know. I don't know what the plan is, because they just announced they're not doing that anymore, which is an interesting shift that we'll talk about another date.
Yeah. So we're landing the plane now, right? With like 1 or 2 more.
Yes.
At the most.
Okay, we talked about specificity with your offers. That's good. If you have courses, you're going to do done with you as much as you can. We talked about launches also with courses. If your course isn't selling, consider that transition.
Guys, and here's the thing. High ticket is still selling. Low ticket is still selling. What's getting destroyed is the middle. And so it's modeling what's happening in our economy. That's why we have talked and been so vocal about the fact
Yes.
that economies matter, politics matter. We have to talk about it. It impacts small businesses, as we see, right?
Yep.
And so when you have the middle class shrinking, that's exactly what's going to happen. It's going to model that in the online space. That's why you're seeing a lot of people like Amy Porterfield, for example, reframing her podcast to actually work with people who are more advanced. Right?
Yes.
She's going for that higher ticket. If you're going low ticket, you got to go low ticket, right?
Yeah.
You're serving a consumer market. And so in a lot of ways, I think that the middle people are the people who are really suffering right now because their sales just died.
Yeah.
So you got to go
And they
high
were
ticket
supporting a
or
lot
you
of
got to go
people.
low ticket.
Yep. Totally agree. Another thing, I think we've kind of touched on this, but I think this is really important to restate if we haven't, that people are overwhelmed with information now more than ever.
It's so
Like,
true.
sure, you can go to ChatGPT and it'll give you an entire business plan. One, are you going to hold yourself accountable to do it?
Mm-hmm.
Two, are you going to be able to curate it to you know what the opportunity is that you should pursue right now, given all the context and layers of who you are and what you've done historically? Can guarantee you that it's not dynamic enough to help you with that. But three, your person is probably significantly overwhelmed because now it's not just one fire hose, it's like 3,000 fire hoses of information. So Kim said answers over information, 1,000%. But know that you can be the counter and be the final answer or the help, and why they're looking. It's also why they're looking for specificity. I don't need more information. Just tell me what to do.
Right.
And a lot of that overwhelm with information aspect is why that's becoming the case. So done with you is part of why people want that. I don't care. I'll pay whatever. I just want help getting it done. Go with people that are all in. You got to be all in. Kim said go all out, be all in, whatever terminology you want to utilize, but you got to be all in and find people that are all in. We talk about PWMs, players with money. You want to make sure you're focusing on people that actually have money to spend and make sure you're meeting them with an offer that makes sense for you. I don't have a problem with the low ticket subscription, but you better have a lot of people if you're going to sell a $7 low ticket subscription. Like, you better have a lot of people.
Yeah.
And so it's always good to have people, PWMs, that are willing to pay you. And what would you render that service for if you do have a business that's a service providing business that you can offer something higher ticket? Is a lot easier than selling 1,000 people at $7, right?
100%. And I think just a final one would probably be, guys, you have to reposition your offers for consumption. And I feel like a lot of us are still kind of thinking in very narrow ways of like, it's got to fit into the course, bucket, or it's got to fit into the subscription bucket perfectly. We're seeing hybrid crush right now where people are taking their courses and turning them into, there's a coaching element to it, or there's a done with you element. There's ways in which you can reposition your offer where it doesn't have to fit perfectly into like, it's either, I do it for them or they take my self-study course. It's like, no. Like, there's in betweens. So finding those and being really smart about how do you plug into the need that the market has right now with an established offer that maybe you tweak, maybe you share it in a different way, switch the format around. There's so many ways in which people can actually pivot and position their offers to crush in this new economy.
Awesome, guys. All right, this was all we had for you today. All we had. Sorry, this is all we brought today. Do you want to close this out?
Sure. I don't know what to say.
Go host.
Ghost. No, but thank you so much for being here with us. You guys, don't forget to subscribe for more episodes. There's going to be...
Share with a friend.
Share with a friend. Extra videos for you to watch next here on the screen. And we will see you in the next one. Un beso. Peace. Bye for now.